of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be used so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and bang. The answer to that, they're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity.
Isn't that crazy? Listen to this. It won't even come through, you guys. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to stop it just because it's having issues and problems, and it could be the place that I'm at. That happens quite a bit. But let me just say that every time I play this,
does Israel play in
here we go. Bill Cooper.
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be used so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and bang. The answer to that, they're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity and government.
Right.
And I get people who still come to me all the time and say, Bill, you're all wrong. It's the Jews. The Jews are subverting the world. Man, it's not the Jews. It's not the Catholics. It's not the blacks. It's these men who belong to the ancient mystery schools, who meet in secret and decide the fate of the world. And they belong to all different races and all different nationalities and all different religions to the public point of view. But in secret, it's a different story. At the highest levels of all countries, they all belong to the same club.
We tried to be a normal talk show once. Worst 2 minutes of our lives. The Kate Dalley Show starts now.
There's the clip in its entirety. See, that's what happens. It happens to me all the time. So welcome. Kate Dalley Show at your service. Insanity is what I have to say. Insanity. So here's the deal today. I actually had somebody scheduled today. Chris Ann Hall was going to join me she's over actually in Europe. She's in England and Scotland today. And the internet, she was having problems jumping on. So I will hopefully have her on Thursday if we can iron out some issues. But she was prepared to come on today to talk about the big 250. What does that mean? You know, the country itself and where are we at? And I think we need a wake-up call for sure. I think that there's a big disconnect, but I am going to bring up some really good stuff today basically on the EO that Trump signed last year. And I think this is really going to be important for everybody to understand because I've said some things and now you're going to see why I'm saying some of those things about the data centers because I get a lot of flack for that. I'm saying that they're not as real as we think they are. I think they're more of a show pony for something else because in history, government has lied so many times about what they're doing and building versus what is actually going to take place in said location. So I think there's a lot of lying going on, but I'm gonna bring that up in just a moment because I do think it's really kind of important that we go over those things. But let me say this too. So I did a Facebook post because today in my area of Southern Utah, it's a voting day, right? And so of course, voting day is an interesting day for all because we are under the illusion that our elections are not rigged. And this is the hard part of me saying this is because people will automatically get pissed. They get pissed because everything is about vote harder, vote harder, vote harder. So I want to tell you what I wrote on Facebook because I think that this is really important to digest for all Americans moving forward because as per my research, that all I can do is point to what's taken place to show you what's happening now and how the brainwashing occurs. And we want to be less fodder for manipulation, right? So this is what I wrote, reality check, okay? And you can go to the Kate Dalley Show page on Facebook. You can get it there, and I'll post it on X and some different places that I'm on. But we are far past the idea of being saved through elections. It's like we're still using the telegraph, and the government is using peak wireless and AI. Okay, that's the difference. Our mindset as a citizen is completely different. So elections are rigged, and they have been for a long time, and they use endorsement and campaign money to make the win look plausible so that people don't question the win of the unpopular, hated candidate liar. Am I being too brutal? Okay. So parties pick the winners, and then they adjust the votes for the win. Okay. It doesn't matter whether you think everyone's going to vote for them or not. They'll always use some plausible excuse, okay, to justify the win so that nobody wants to see the evidence of the win, okay? The people don't want to think that it's that corrupt. So we idealize elections. We idealize them. We honor them. We respect them. We say, vote harder. You're un American if you don't vote. Go get your sticker. Vote harder, meaning get out the troops to vote. Okay. So it's kind of like we are in a fake fight, but we think it's real. So the local, state, and federal government loves for us to think that we're in a real fight. Okay. So software, the takeover, happened in 2004. I've said this over and over again on the show, but I'll say it again today because it's voting day. The hanging Chad story from 2001, from 2000, was the story used, the lie, to then bring in the solution of the already hatched solution, I should say, the voting election software. It was already ready to go. They just had to have a plausible reason to install it. The hanging Chad was the excuse. So the software has changed many, many times, the name of it. Not the software, but the name of it. So the votes go in correctly. When tabulated, though, when the numbers come out, the numbers are changed. And it's always made to look very close so that you think it's a super close race. Otherwise, you would want to know you would want to look into the results, okay? And so the lying politicians showcase the votes going in correctly. We had this happen in my county. The county commissioners showed the vote going in, and they're like, photo op, take a photo of me for the newspaper. So they take a photo with the lieutenant governor, and then they all go to lunch. And they celebrate and pat each other on the back and go, oh, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. I just showcased that the vote went in. That means that elections are good. Elections are safe. Elections are work properly. See, the vote went in, and see the check mark, see the name. Okay, so that's not where the election steal is, though. So then what they do is they go, see, everything's fine, but that's not where the steal happens. It happens when it's tabulated in the back end. So it's our reality. And until people demand handwritten votes, we will continue to think that if we just vote hard enough, that there's a chance. So until the people put enough pressure on the corrupt, lying county commissioners who control how we vote, we will continue to this insanity. It's why I was censored off the air locally. The commissioners wanted to go into the media company to ask them to take me off the air. They didn't want me mentioning fake elections, and because it hurts their own process of getting reelected. See how that works? And you'll notice that county commissioners across the nation, and you can chime in from wherever you are right now, but if you want to prove my point, okay, go and see how many county commissioners are actually running their candidacy throughout the country, depending on when your races are and what's going on. See how many are actually talking about election fraud and how they're going to stop it. I'm going to wait because it's crickets. You won't hear a word. You won't hear a word. Even those running against the incumbents, not a word. It's just not a thing because they can't make it into a thing because it's one of their jobs as county commissioners in 3,300 counties plus across the nation. They can't say election fraud, or would they lose it? They could lose the whole country, right, to an actual honest vote. Because if 3,300 counties actually got together and said, we're not going to tolerate this any longer, then, oh my gosh, you could actually take our country back. And then we could really celebrate 250 years of freedom because we've captured our country back. Because right now we don't have liberty because we have fixed banana republic elections. You can't have a free country when your elections are fixed. But we're going to celebrate it. And the county commissioners are going to celebrate it all over the country, although they're not going to tell you that it's fixed. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Greetings, Kate, from the People's Republic of Tennessee. Hey.
Oh, I can.
Is that better?
You're coming in and out.
How about now?
Now's better. Go ahead.
Okay. Greetings from the People's Republic of Tennessee. I just wanted to reaffirm the fact that as a casualty of this war on truth, to 20 years ago when I ran for county executive and I won in a landslide in West Tennessee for county executive, and observed literally they put the votes in, though we had already been declared the winner. Magically, they came out of the computer tabulated machine as me losing with the same votes that my opponent had. And so when you challenge the election, of course, they're not going to expose it. Now, the cool thing is that in the state of Tennessee, the Constitution requires that the tabulation be done in plain view. You can't see inside of a computer tabulating machine, so you can't see how they make the sausage, right?
Right.
Well, we've got the so-called, best voting system in the country, according to the state of Tennessee Secretary of State, Trey Hargett.
Right.
And of course, we've got all these so-called Christian conservative Republican supermajority in the legislature and the governor's seat. But when you ask them online or on a radio show or face to face, why are you not doing anything to correct this so that we go back to paper ballots that are tabulated on site and the posting in the polling place, and then you can call in the results and everybody can visually see what's there? Crickets, like you say.
Yes. Oh, I so appreciate you. Thank you. Love the comment. Yep. I know people don't want to hear this because they think game over, but it's not game over. What if everyone realized that the elections were fixed all the way down to local city council? What if you realized that they were being co-opted by a lot of intelligence officers being trained as normal citizens who run for office, and just so happens that they agree to every single thing that's horrific? What if people knew that? Could we change the trajectory of the country? Yes, we could get it back. So my news isn't bad news. My news is liberating news. My news is, hey, elections are fixed. Why don't we fix that? Why don't we concentrate on that? Why don't we have a movement toward that? And then, by the way, did you ever wonder why Trump ran if he knew the election was fixed? In 2020, it was obviously fixed. No one wanted Dingling as president or Horseface Hormala. So why do you think he ran again? Why do you think he put money out again? Why do you think the party spent money on him if everyone knows it could be fixed? Makes no sense. Okay. Hi, caller. Well, because it's all fixed. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Kate.
Hi.
Yeah, calling from Idaho, and I hope any of the listeners who are listening from Idaho try to understand that our Secretary of State, Phil McGrain, is constantly pumping out propaganda, declaring how great our election system is and how secure it is, and we're the best in the country, and oh my gosh, and he just constantly goes over it. And like, if it's that great, Phil, why do you keep having to say it, Phil? Why is that necessary,
brother. Amen.
Phil?
Oh my gosh, I wish people would listen to what you just said. When they try to sell it and sell it and sell it, there's a problem.
Yes, absolutely. Amen. That's the first litmus test. The more they talk about it, the more corrupt it is.
Amen.
Yes.
I'm so glad you called. Thank you. I love the phone call. 'Tis true. We don't want to face it because it takes more work to then fight it. See? So the easiest thing is to go vote harder, get your sticker, pull the lever, show everyone you're an American. Go vote. That's easier than it is to get people aware and have to change their thinking. Sadly, I know it sucks, but it's the truth. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Voting harder.
I'm going to vote harder this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're living a myth to believe that if we abolish all voter fraud, it's some problem solved. America's going to continue to head down the road to tyranny, road to totalitarianism.
Right.
If there is no voter fraud, because they're voting for the same thing, tyranny in both parties. One example, hearing this constantly on Republican radio shows, conservative shows, what do you want to call them, Fox News, about the voter fraud that they initiated, exposing up in Minnesota. And all the line is the socialism that voter fraud was supposedly from, it was It's fine. That's implicit constantly. It's okay to give welfare for everything in the world. Trillions of dollars here, trillions of dollars there. And welfare is nothing but theft. And that theft is much, much, much larger than the fraud. But that's okay. We just have to stop the fraud and dishonesty regarding where it's going and so forth. That's your Republicans are a bunch of Marxists. They're much worse than even the Democrats 10 years ago that I used to fight constantly to try to expose and get out of office.
Oh, amen.
So we're going to, fraud's not going to, because then that's telling the people, oh, then you can vote and we'll be okay. No, the vote isn't going to solve the problem. What's going to solve the problem is they don't want to solve it and understand it. It is a lot of work. It's an understanding of what liberty is and individual rights are and what tyranny is. And the vast majority of Americans don't understand either of those concepts adequately.
Yes.
Until and then start educating other people once we get educated.
I get it. Thank you so much. Appreciate the call. Yeah, he's right. He's right. Okay. So for about, I don't know, a year, I've been talking about the data centers. So voting, let me go back for just a second. I'm really sorry to say that voting is rigged. It's been rigged, really rigged since 2004. They've had complete control. Office of the Internet controls it, even though they deny they have an Office of the Internet, but go look it up. They do. And anytime I started talking about this, I was censored. Well, so you can draw your own conclusion. I was censored nationally. I was censored locally. I was taken off of guesting on other shows because people the powers that be that actually run the country do not want you to, they just want you to consume the whole voting narrative and just think that it's one party versus another, and that if they get in, they're going to do XYZ, and if the Republican gets in, they're going to do XYZ, and then when XYZ is done, no matter who gets in, then we just say they caved, and then when they're hated because we see their record and they get in again, it's because the party loves them. The party chooses the candidates. They're so corrupt. The parties are so corrupt, both of them. So that's why when I started to say, why did Trump run for office if he knew it was rigged? The reason I kept saying that to people is because I wanted to kind of shake them, wake them up and say, I'm a conservative telling you that if Trump won and Trump ran, knowing that there was a rigged election in 2020, because you would have to have been in a coma not to realize that, okay? No one wanted Dingaling. Dingaling wasn't respected in his own party. How do you think he won 81 million votes? Give me a break. It's because that should have showcased to all of us everywhere that the entire thing was rigged. And he ran because he knew he was going in. And he ran because he agreed to do things that they wanted, those that run the country. The presidency is just a show pony, okay, position. So, okay, with that being said, sorry, because I swear to you, I get the backlash. It's the funniest thing in the world. It's like you're not mad at them in 2004 doing the hanging Chad lie in 2000 and then commandeering our elections in 2004. No one's mad at that. Everyone gets mad at the people that say it because you're taking away my hope. Buddy, if that's your hope, you are one sad, lost American because you're definitely not a patriot. I know you think you're voting harder, so you are a patriot. You're not a patriot. You're an idiot. Because guess what, folks? It's rigged. Completely rigged. Now, here's the question. Do you vote? Do you vote? Yes. If that weighs on your conscience, yes, because that is the one thing you can do. And I've said this over and over again. If that would weigh on your conscience that you didn't vote, then vote. It's not going to make a hill of beans difference, but it will show up. I mean, somewhere, somehow. And the lying and the scumbaggery is then on the shoulders of those that flip the vote. fraudulently. So you've done your part, you've tried, but obviously it's not going to work, but you've tried, you've done your part. And I think that's important because I still think that you do what you can. Okay. I sometimes think it's very fruitless to vote just because, why? But because it's that overtaken. Like I said, it's like we're using the telegraph still and the government's using AI. So vast difference in how we view the world, right? And what we think is happening. So I just wanted to say that. And both parties are very controlled and into one party. Now, you're wondering why I have this picture up. Okay. And by the way, I did want to mention again, Chris Ann Hall was going to be on today, our constitutional attorney. That's fantastic. But she couldn't because she's over in Europe and the internet was too spotty. So I'm going to try to get her on Thursday's show. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. She had some great thoughts about the 250 celebration and where we're at, what we can do right now. And it's not all hopeless. I never am without hope because I still think people can wake up. I really do. I think we're smart enough, but it's just going to take, I don't know, just going to take some more aha moments, I guess. 100 years of the fakery and forgery isn't enough for us. So we're going to have to finally wake up. 2020 wasn't even enough for some people. So we have our work cut out for us. So let me show you this. I just showed you a data center and I saw this. This was interesting. Edward Snowden. Okay. Now, I don't know if this is his real account or not. It doesn't even matter because signed June the 2nd, 2026, buried on page 14. This is Executive Order 14318. It was actually done last, I think, July of 2025. And then it gave 180 days. Basically what it's saying is not one cable news network covered it. Well, that's true. They don't cover EOs. This is all about data center acceleration in the United States. So every major AI data center in the United States is now classified as a military operation. I don't know that the EO said that. You could say that it did. But I thought state regulations no longer apply. Well, they do try to muscle the federal regulations in over the states, but the states could still fight it. That's the lie. So it's not a done deal, but it's the county can still fight a data center. The state can still fight a data center. So this information is kind of interesting because it's true, but not in a lot of different ways. But one thing that I wanted to tell you about the data centers is the EO is a very interesting EO. So I'm going to show you parts of the EO, okay, that kind of stuck out here. So biological and water permitting efficiencies, okay, upon identification of the sites of the Secretary of the Interior and the Secretary of Energy, as described in Section 9 of this order, identified through the process, blah, 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 Endangered Species Act, blah, 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 okay, that basically qualifying projects will occur over the next 10 years at a programmatic level. Okay. Over the next 10 years, we're going to be putting these things in. Interesting. Okay. Now they've been doing this and working on this and getting the green light though, since 2015. So 11 years ago under Obama, he's the one that kind of put some of these things into motion. And so we're reeling from the effects of even 10 years ago. And now we're saying the next 10. So this is, it's important. All right. So within 180 days of this date of this order, and I'm showing this on YouTube and Facebook, by the way, if you're wondering, the Secretary of the Army acting through the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works. So the Secretary of the Army shall review the nationwide permits under Section 404 of the Clean Water Act of 1972. That was all done on a lie, by the way. And the Section 10 of the Rivers and Harbors Appropriation Act of 1899 to determine whether an activity-specific nationwide permit is needed to facilitate the efficient permitting of activities relating to qualifying projects, which is data centers, okay? It's under the heading of data centers. So kind of interesting, the Secretary of the Army. So I get why they're trying to say it's a complete military op, but what is interesting is that they will not allow you to see the construction plans. They're not going to allow you anything in depth. They'll only show you the environmental workup of a facility, but they're not going to show you what's actually inside the facility, or how they're building it, or what they're including in it. They won't show you that. That's all top secret. Okay. So that should piss you off a little bit, but okay. So then the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency shall, consistent with EPA, okay, authorities, are going to identify brownfield sites and Superfund sites for use by qualifying projects. So these are going in brownfield sites, Superfund sites. I'll show you a map in just a second. As part of this effort, within 180 days of this order, this was last summer, the administrator of the EPA shall develop guidance to help expedite environmental reviews for qualified reuse and assist state governments. So you take a brownfield site where, say, a dry cleaner was, or they think could have some toxic availability to it, right? And they clean it up and they preserve it for a government project, is basically what's happening here. So, okay, so then they have to explain how these are going to work. This is a brownfield map right here. I'm showing it on YouTube. Okay, a lot of sites. I don't really have very many down here in southern Utah, but if you are in the East Coast, you're going to see a lot, and if you're in the Midwest, you're going to see a lot, and Florida, and then on the other coast as well. But the concentration is really actually on the east side of the country. So this is kind of interesting. The brownfield sites are kind of the target areas. So I wanted to kind of bring that up and tell you about that. But there are some other things that I thought were kind of interesting. So let me see if this part has it. We have covered component projects, meaning infrastructure comprising of a facility manufacturing or otherwise producing covered components. So basically, they're telling you that they're going to be producing components for the data center, possibly at the site of the data center, while collecting your data. Okay. Now, I do want to read this to you. For some reason, my graphic isn't pulling up, so I'm going to show you this, but I'm actually going to read to you what it says. Okay, so let me go here really fast. So basically, if you AI the overview of the executive order that was done last July on this day, but July 23rd, 2025. The primary goal of accelerating the federal permitting process for data center infrastructure that supports artificial intelligence, okay? This order is part of a broader strategy to enhance United States technological leadership and manufacturing capabilities, okay? So going through this EO was kind of interesting because it was laying out some of the things that are going to be included. It was, where is it? Hold on. I thought I had some of it. 1 second here. Give me a sec. It talked about synthetic, which was really weird. Okay. Because remember how I told you I thought that it was kind of an odd, they don't need the buildings. Okay. They've got the info right now. They say they're going to be processing, not just storing, processing answers, processing info. So which means like a picture of a cat is stored, but the AI being able to say that is a cat is the knowledge. Okay. And so they have to store that. But technology's only gotten smaller. So the fact that they have to have these huge, vast buildings eating up water and everything else, I know that part of that is to bring up the cost of living, water prices, scarcity, all those types of things, and get us in a scarcity mode. We're much easier to control when things are scarce and they cost more. So home ownership won't be very affordable over the next 10 years. Okay. But here's something that really stuck out to me. Data center project, and it even puts it in quotes. This is section 2 of the EO. Now listen to this. Means a facility that requires greater than 100 megawatts of new load dedicated to AI inference, training, simulation, or synthetic data generation. Okay, let me say that again. Dedicated to these new data center projects to AI inference, training, simulation, or synthetic data generation. Okay. Now, here's something to think about. So when you run this through an AI question, okay. So when you, let me see here, right here. Okay. AI companies run out of high quality public data to train on. They don't have enough training. Interesting. Many are increasing using synthetic data generated by other AI systems to create additional training material. Okay. This is an active area of research and debate in the AI field. So when you hear synthetic data, it usually means computer generated information that imitates real world data for training, testing, analysis, and simulation purposes. And I did think this was really weird. Synthetic data, because they just don't have enough. I'm sorry, but half the people now are, instead of going to Google, are going to ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and all these different ones, and they're putting in information and they're trying to ask questions, and basically it's building a profile on you when you do this. It keeps everything. So I'm sorry, why do they need synthetic data? Does that imitates real world data, computer generated information that imitates real world data for training, testing, analysis, and simulation purposes. In the EO, okay, in the executive order, a data center means a facility that requires 100 megawatts of new load dedicated to AI inference, training, simulation, or synthetic data generation. Remember how I said that the data centers are basically fronts? Because why? Because in the future, these data centers will be, number one, they're going to provide a plausible reason for scarcity because everything's going to go to the data center, utilities and whatnot, okay? Water, electricity, and we get the seconds. We get the leftovers as citizens of the country. So that's one. And another one is this sort of looming, and I wrote an ebook on it, so you've got it in writing, the looming reason for the front of the AI is to create wealth. Okay, they're going to tell us that the AI is creating so much wealth, I guess, on this synthetic data. So it's going to be creating so much wealth that as shareholders of the company called America since the 1870s, that we are going to get dividends, basically. And Elon is saying those dividends could be high. But what they're really going after is UBI. Okay? Universal basic income, or as Elon puts it, universal high income. Twice in this EO, it talks about economic prosperity. And I'll read it to you. In addition, my administration, this is Trump, he signed the EO, will utilize federally owned land and resources for the expeditious and orderly development of data centers. This usage, orderly development of data centers, you know what that means? We've bought all of our politicians and they will be hook, line, and sinker on this idea. Okay? It's going to be very orderly. Okay. People, you got to stand up. Anyway, this usage will be done in a manner consistent with the land's intended purpose to be used in service of the prosperity and security of the American people. So in the narrative of the data center, they're doing it for two reasons. Number one, they're saying in the narrative, and it'll be prosperity because we will be number one. We're already number one. We'll be number one. And basically, this will secure us as an American people against anyone else who thinks they can out-tech us, even though we own all the other governments. Did I say that out loud? Okay. So it's also mentioned as economic prosperity. In the very, very beginning of the EO, it says economic prosperity. Why? Because in the beginning of the EO, it is talking about a golden age. It's basically saying this is the golden age. They're going to pursue, and I'm quoting, bold, large-scale industrial plans to vault the United States further into the lead. We're in the lead, whether we realize it or not, but whatever. We control the other powers that be because we pay for them. So to further the lead on critical manufacturing process and technology that are essential to national security, economic prosperity, and scientific leadership. Now, I went ahead and I asked AI because why not, right? I probably should finish that sentence though. Okay, let me finish that sentence. Economic prosperity and scientific leadership. These plans include artificial intelligence, AI data centers, and infrastructure that powers them, including high voltage transmission lines and other equipment. It talks even about coal-fired stuff and nuclear power, by the way. It'll be a priority of my administration to facilitate the rapid and efficient build-out of this infrastructure by easing federal regulatory burdens. The burdens, you mean they placed on themselves? Okay. Anyway, so in addition, my administration will utilize federally owned land and resources for the orderly development of these data centers. So it talks about prosperity twice. Okay. Now, you know me being me, I'm going to ask, well, why in the world did it talk about prosperity? Okay, because this is just AI storage is what they tell us, data storage, right? So they can run AI, so they can basically run the world. So why? What's the deal with this? So you can say economic prosperity because of the results down the road of that. Okay, you could, but I asked specifically about it being a cover for UBI. So that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know, is this a cover for UBI? Is the wealth that's talking about it, you know? Because AI came back. This is what AI had to say. Aren't you kind of interested to see, right? Okay. So the argument goes like this. AI, this is the narrative. AI automates more work, even though they're taking jobs. Fewer workers may be needed in some industries. That means they're really taking jobs. AI increases productivity and wealth. That's a weird jump. You're taking away people's jobs. They can't work, but AI increases productivity and wealth. That kind of proves my theory. So how does it do it, right? So you're probably wondering that, right? Oh, because it's more efficient. Okay. So I'm a business owner, and instead of hiring people, I use AI, and AI increases productivity and wealth. Governments may need new ways to distribute income. I kid you not, this is what AI said. Governments then may need new ways to distribute income. I'm sorry, how did we go from AI produces productivity and wealth to the government has to pay you? Distribute income. And then on number 5, it said UBI is one proposed solution. And technology leaders, including Sam Altman, who's the front man, he's not the AI guy, he's just the face of AI, front man for AI, and others in the AI field have discussed UBI. So that is quite a leap. AI automates more work, fewer workers are needed, so you don't have a job. But AI increases productivity and wealth, brings up our wealth as a nation. You get a dividend check from the government. UBI is one. Oh, UBI is that created solution already ready to go. So they talked about the AI infrastructure as being treated like, this is AI, railroad, interstate highway, electrical grids, telecommunication networks. The underlying assumption appears to be that whoever builds and controls the next generation of computing infrastructure may gain significant economic advantages. Whether that ultimately, I'm quoting AI, whether that ultimately leads to broader prosperity, concentrated wealth, or policies like UBI is a separate policy debate. Oh, I don't know, honey. It doesn't sound very separate when it's included in the AI UBI declaration. This is what happens, 5 points that are about to happen to you. So when I said that it's a front for UBI, which is way more important to them than you being more efficient at your job and not having to hire people, they have to have a reason to bring on UBI. Why? Because we are too successful with capitalism. We're too successful on our own. We're too successful as business owners. So they have to have a reason to control the masses and the money they get. When the government comes with you with a check, they also get to control that money that comes into your account. They can take it out too. So, with all that synthetic data. Okay. So, here's some comments. Let's see. I have no idea. It sounds like Marion had a really weird comment, but I can't understand it. And the Colonel says, I get bored after 4 days of vacation from work. Yeah, people do usually. So that is true. Listen, we have a big, big problem coming, and people don't want to recognize it. And it's being used with things like synthetic data. Did you realize that the EO was so explicit about saying that this is synthetic data going into this AI center? Oh boy. Yeah, it's crazy. So the synthetic data is a big, big deal. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
So one thing you've taught us here is AI is a subversive bunch of Marxists. You don't have to be a human being to be a thief, a Marxist, because that redistribution of wealth. But I think the most important thing here is movement. You made some good argument. But the most important is what the law says. I recommend everybody that doesn't know this, go to Article 1 of the Constitution, Section 8, go to Clause 17. And in those clauses, it specifies exactly what the federal government, because this is a federal agency, the executive order says that.
Yeah.
And it says there's only 3 types of installations that the federal government can have in your state. Only if the state legislature approves it.
Yes.
So they can't have any installations, not even a 2x2 size miniature house.
Right.
And those installations that they might be able to, if the state approves it, are magazines and arsenals. So, your weapons and some place to store them. And the other 2 are dockyards. So in our state, maybe you can put a dockyard in a big lake, Salt Lake City or Salt Lake. And the other one is erection of fort. Those are the only installation, only if the state approve it. So this is not clearly, as these bystanders are still clearly don't meet those. So if I was governor, I wouldn't spend more than 5 minutes. I would just cite this particular provision in the Constitution I just specified and to get it out of here. And we're going to send the state police after you if you start to try to do anything in our state.
I agree with you. Thank you. I really appreciate the call. Listen. He's right. And he makes great points. We still have a constitution. It's still there. No matter what the government does to it, it's still there. It's still in play. Last time I looked. So there is definitely a fight that can take place. I wanted to bring this to you because I just thought this was crazy. I thought this was so fascinating that of what the actual EO says. So we talked about it when it came out. I don't know if you remember that, but we didn't really go into a lot of the specific detail on it. I can't remember what happened that day, but we didn't go into the specific detail. And I was realizing that I was like, hey, we did not do this and we should have done this because it's really, really important. But you should know, though, that these centers, it's also really strange because it's talking about all the different things that go into it. Now, I want to make a really big point about this. It's kind of funny. So the data in the EO, they made certain to say, let me find this for you because I have to tell you this. This is actually kind of hilarious. sad, hilarious-ish. It talked about all of the different things. It said this. It said energy infrastructure, because they're talking about covered components, what goes into the data center, okay? Energy infrastructure, transmission lines, natural gas pipelines, substations, switchyards, transformers, switchgear, system protective facilities, natural gas turbines, coal power equipment. This is for the data center. Nuclear power equipment, geothermal power equipment, dispatchable baseload energy sources. Do you know what that means? Dispatchable energy baseload is things that can't turn off. Okay. So think about that for just a moment. What have we heard that, especially Obama and his windmills, okay? Wind power, solar power, right? That is not a dispatchable baseload. Like the dispatchable baseload means that it doesn't turn off, but solar can turn off, wind can turn off. So for all the years that we've had to digest the freaking lies from government talking about how they had to turn everything over to these stupid windmills and everything else when we had enough power to run the things that we had, they turned it into a totally different kind of load, right? Energy source load. But for some reason, they're not including that in the data center. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells me that whatever's going to go on in that data center, and by the way, we're not going to hear about it because why? Because it's all under security secrets. I find that a little weird, but okay. A lot weird. We're not going to find out, but they definitely don't want to have it turn off. Why? Because there's no relying on it whatsoever. For all of the Greta nonsense kabuki theater that we had to digest for the last 20 years. Greta Thunberg, whatever her name was, with the ponytails, the Asperger girl. Anyways, we had to digest this for years, and how everything had to turn to this other technology. They can't put it in the data center because whatever's going in the data center, and I think that it's at the end of this, it's not going to be just for data. I think they actually turn into little prisons. I really do. Little hubs, little centers. And no one's going to suspect the wiser. And I think that things could be definitely built under the data centers because there are tunnels going under the data centers. And they're going to say it's for utilities. They're going to say it's for the work of the data center. They're going to come up with all kinds of mumbo jumbo about it. But there are tunnels. There are things underneath in the ground that are going under the data centers. And you can even AI that. You can go and check it out. But they can't rely on solar. I mean, come on. This is just ridiculous. So I just had to tell you that because that's the level of insanity that we're at right now. So are data centers combustible? Asking for scientific reasons. I don't know. You tell me. I definitely don't think they are for what they say we are putting them in for. That's for certain. All right. I'll take a caller. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show.
Well, hey, Kate.
Hi there. I'm good. How are you?
Oh, we're all just living the dream out here in drought-stricken Utah, where they want to plop a data center every 10 miles.
Just looking at your synthetic data, just loading up your synthetic data.
Basically. Hey, some things to think about with these data centers. So obviously there are a lot of communities in Utah, especially on the west side, where they are proposing to plant these puppies. But I think it's interesting if you look at the history of when you talked about infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
In America, if you go back to when we did massive data structure or infrastructure upgrades.
Okay.
For example, the rail lines, right? That gave us a good 100 years of infrastructure, even though right after we put that into place and we paid the money and invested in it, we actually went bankrupt. And then we had to come back out of that because that infrastructure boosted us, right? And then we had the same thing with our freeways and our highway system. We spent the billions of dollars. We went bankrupt. It gave
Federal
us
highway
50
system
years.
in the 50s. Yes.
That's right. Of infrastructure.
Yeah.
So the crazy, and when we did all the power lines, the same thing. So the crazy part about these data centers is that for all of this, it's the most expensive build out we've ever proposed, trillions upon trillions of dollars. And these are scheduled to be outdated within 5 to 6 years. So what type of investment is this really? It does not make any sense, number one. Number two, the other crazy part is, because you're reading in the executive order about how they're going to have to do more power structure around the data center.
Okay.
The funny thing is, people who invested in this back early on, like on the East Coast, they never put into place any type of average household. So all of those communities are actually paying the power bill, so to speak, to upgrade the infrastructure instead of the power company paying to upgrade the infrastructure. So places now have wised up, like out in the West, and for example, state of Utah, they actually put out a bill that said, "Okay, you know what? Power company, you have to carve out a separate consumer or customer niche that says that you're a mega user. So anything that is 1 or 1.5 gigawatts of power that you're draining, that bill can only be, it has to be sequestered and paid by the user only. It cannot be ferreted out to all the other customers in the community." But you see what they're doing is they're trying to upgrade our infrastructure and make the taxpayer pay for that instead of making the power companies and the people who are pushing for all of this massive power usage to pay for the upgrade.
Wow.
Which is super duper sneaky and backhanded. And the other thing that I just want to say, and I want to just put this out there, not that I agree with basic universal income. However, since we are all getting our data stolen from us and used against us, I just recently, I knew this, but I got to see on the back end in my phone how many different places are being sold my data by Google or by whatever it is I use. Why am I not getting a check for all of the data that is being basically sold in my behalf, right? I should be getting a check. If we want to end this, and I mean literally bankrupt all of them, we get our check for the data that they take from us. That would be the end of all of it, because how much money do they have to give to us?
That's an interesting thought. The problem is that this is a New Deal too. So where FDR issued the New Deal with all of our socialism programs, where the money was forced from you to only give you back a pittance, this will be the same. So you're getting a little pittance from the government. They get to control your money. They get to give it to you. They're your new employer while you sit home. And honestly,
I'm not saying to sit home. I want everything. I want you. I'm going to go do what I'm going to do. In fact, one more little side note. They had a number of different corporations that had laid off a lot of employees, and they ended up switching over to a subscription service for AI. Well, it turns out the subscription service monthly for their AI agents was costing them more than having them be employees. So they've actually ditched that and started to hire the employees back. So that was kind of a bright note.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, I thank you. Thanks. It's an interesting thought. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, something to think about. Lynn says they're already doing the tunnels here in Central Texas. They call it water department upgrades. Uh-huh. And they've been building a data center in north central Texas near Lake Whitney. Yeah. I think a lot more is going underneath, kind of like the under the ground federal prisons that they build. I just think there's a lot more happening under the earth than we think. And I think these data centers are being built on a lie. They're having to use synthetic data. So synthetic data, it's very interesting. And I just hope we can kind of put the pieces together. I'll take a caller. Hi, caller. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Kate, I'm not going to mention the show because I don't want to get any kudos, but there is a program that comes on weekly that talks about a ranch in northeastern Idaho. You're probably aware of this ranch. And they're doing investigations at this ranch. And they had as a guest that came out to the ranch, your infamous governor showed up and he was on TV last week.
Interesting.
It was quite amazing. So I'm kind of wondering, so what's that shtick all about? What's he throwing the dice for? And why would he get on the TV show? What's that whole point about?
Our closeted ass kisser. I have no idea. I am perplexed at anything this guy does. And he's such a lying scumbag, our governor of Utah, that he's such a Biden Gavin Newsom Jr. that I don't have words. So you can only imagine.
He had a whole entourage of SUVs caravanning him in there, and yet no one got out of the SUV except for him.
Yeah, I'm
that
sure
was
he
on
did.
Camera anyway.
I'm sure he did. Oh man, thank you. Appreciate the info. About that. My governor of Utah is not even a legitimate governor. He didn't even get the signatures to be on the ballot, and of course the party, the feds, nobody called him on it, and he's in, and he disgusts me. Like, talk about evil. There's a whole new strain of evil when it comes to the governor of Utah. And I would have to say every governor out there is pretty bought and paid for. So what do we do? Well, I don't think that we're out of options. I think it looks bad, and I think it's horrifying, and I think voting is gone, but I don't think we're out of options. The other thing that I did want to talk about for just a moment is this. This was kind of an interesting one too. So Trump administration to test revolutionary Golden Dome missile shield in Pacific as Iran tensions soar. Now, check out the date on this. It was January 13th, 2026. Everyone's getting back from Christmas. No one's really paying attention. The Golden Dome thing. And was the reason that we did all of this with Iran, to use Iran as a scapegoat for testing out the Golden Dome. And so this kind of runs into just a few little interesting things, which I'm going to mention briefly here, even though we're kind of out of time. I still want to go there for just a moment because it is kind of fascinating. Okay. So you have this headline. Then of course we start bombing the snot out of Iran, even though we just are giving them billions for repair, which I think goes into a smart country repair, but okay, whatever, just like Ukraine. But so the Golden Dome is a space-based missile defense shield for the U.S., okay? Kind of like an Iron Dome, but for America at scale. And it's $831 billion over 20 years, even though it was way more than that. They've been recently talking about Elon being a trillionaire, and Elon's a front man. And so his money, I don't think, is even his. But there's probably a reason they're saying he's a trillionaire. So the initial ask was $175 billion. And then, of course, now it's almost $1 trillion. And it's going to go over $1 trillion. But whatever. This happens all the time. The money laundering, the spiked amounts, the entry level low amount to the high amount. Yeah, we've seen this over and over and over again, all the way down to city stuff. Okay. So Iran is not maybe the primary target of the Golden Dome. I think it was a testing ground, kind of like a guinea pig. It was a justification that they sell to the public because it's easier to say that Iran is a threat. And I think that's fake. I think it's a perceived threat. But it's easier to say that than it is we're testing this, okay? And so these defense contractors are salivating because SpaceX, Elon, Palantir, JD Vance's buddy, Northrop, already positioning all of those government companies that appear to be private, and geopolitical deterrence theater. Okay. So what's the actual mechanism, not the narrative? And I think if you really get down to it, it's a space militarization program disguised as defense. Who are we defending ourselves against? Because the only 2 attacks on America were pre-planned and allowed to happen by our own CIA agencies and military agencies, the intelligence branches. The only two real attacks, okay, in the last 100 years plus. So, or more. So, because we had the Civil War, but that wasn't an attack. So why do we need this? If we're the biggest dog in the doghouse, why do we need that? Interesting. So just kind of looking at it, just wanted to give you guys some thoughts on this. Whoever controls the military dominance, right? Global communications, they control GPS, that whole infrastructure, they control finance, transaction systems. Because if the government's going to pay you, then of course you want to control that. And then all the military operations, even though we already do control all of those. That's why we pay all these countries. It's why we're in deep, right? Knees deep in all these countries, neck deep. So Starlink, Elon's company, he's a front man. Did I mention that? He's not a real boy genius. He's not a rebel either. But he's the only existing infrastructure capable of supporting this system, is what they tell us. Okay. Who knows? But running the platform and everything else, it's $175 billion to start, almost $1 trillion. Space-based weapon systems can strike anywhere on Earth within minutes. And calling it a dome implies protection of defense. But weapons don't only point in one direction. So full spectrum dominance from space permanently in low orbit, since we can't go into high orbit. Remember Project Slam Dunk? The moon landing lie? Anyway, so when Eisenhower was warning us in 1969 or 61, was he talking about this? Iran was the test. The U.S. Navy intercepted Iranian ballistic missiles using SM-3 system, but that wasn't just defense. That was a live combat data collection event. That was 2024 in April. And so if we control Iran, that means the entire event was controlled. So if we control Iran's government, which I think we do, I think they're a pretend bad guy, because they wanted it to look like a tyrannical, real bad guy. So I'm not doubting that, but I am doubting that that they're rogue and we don't control them. We do. We're heavily involved in Iran's government. And so Iran launches 300 drones and missiles at Israel, supposedly. And of course, we intercepted because us and Israel were like besties for a reason. And so the real world testing gives you data, right? Instead of a simulation. And so you get this equation, Iran conflict equals, live weapons data equals Golden Dome gets funded, equals militarization advances, so that you set up the problem, you set up the attack, you control the narrative, you get the Golden Dome funded, you pretend they're a threat. Iran is sort of the laboratory that we use. They're not an actual threat, they're a perceived threat. So this is why we're able to maintain high defense budgets. This is why we can consolidate our power. It's why we have advanced strategic infrastructure. And did I mention celebrating 250 years of the liberty that's been stricken from us? I love America. I'm not like a lefty who sits there and trumps on America and says how terrible America itself, amazing, built on a God-given idea that you actually get your rights from God because it's true, and that you are not subject to kings and queens or your government. Okay. It's supposed to be a representative government, a republic that we control. Okay. So I love America. The leftists get fed a line that they love to, I don't know, talk about incessantly, is how much they hate America. That's not true. I love America. I just don't like what my government's done to it. And like I said, we're still playing the telegraph, and they're over here doing AI. The government's way ahead, and the people need to catch up. The people are their biggest threat. The biggest threat to them is us understanding all of this, and being awake. That's their biggest threat. So the threat doesn't even, the threat of Iran doesn't have to be real. It just has to be believable. Okay. It just has to be believable. So Iran, we control what happens, the occurrence. We also control the solution we're about to implement. And I think that it again turns itself on us. So I think the Golden Dome is a situation in which the government, technology itself, can do things without a conscience and can erase people and can erase uprisings and can erase things before they get a foothold. I think the Golden Dome, because there is no external threat to us, we control it all. How could there be? Okay. The two things that happened, Pearl Harbor and 9/11, were both manufactured events from the CIA to produce more dominance in the Middle East and change the narrative in the Middle East. And World War II was allowed. They knew that we were going to get bombed in Pearl Harbor. That's why they moved things around a little bit, because it was going to bring on our socialism programs. It was going to bring on Israel getting a country to instigate and further all of this. It was going to bring on the UN, League of Nations. It was going to bring on the UN. It was going to bring on the Bretton Woods. It was going to bring on a total restructure of financial organizations. So there was a reason to allow the attack on Pearl Harbor. There was a reason to have 9/11 because there were restructurings going on. The Golden Dome represents a whole different restructuring process. And this is where it can turn on us on a dime and be very kind of like a reason, we weren't in control. It was the technology that did that to you, that erased a city or an uprising or some people doing something. It wasn't us. It's a plausible deniability. Also, it just will be used a lot for the financial transactions, things like that. Yeah, it's basically showcasing the fact that they want to squelch any sort of uprising from us. Doesn't mean they totally can. It doesn't mean we shouldn't wake up. It just means that they're scared that the masses might wake up. They've been playing this game long enough that they just want to make sure. They want to ensure that we don't. So is Iran partly for increasing the prices of everything? A plausible scapegoat for the increase in prices? Yes. They can continuously this entire year say the reason we have high gas and the reason your food costs are crazy and the reason restaurants charge more and the reason that you can't hardly live on an income, really no one income, is because of Iran. But some other reasons are they're working this out, the Golden Dome, right? So I think it's something that we should probably be aware of because it's the game-changing total surveillance architecture that no one's talking about. Golden Dome infrastructure, together with Starlink, together with AI targeting, basically gives us a financial system control, a communication blackout capability by region that can be blamed on a hacker. and real-time tracking of any population center. So, with that being said, we are getting a total surveillance architecture, which is a total game changer. But we're calling it defense because the bad guy is going to come get us. I guess Who Flung Poo over in North Korea is going to come get us. And Iran, the size of Alaska, is going to come get us. And is there anyone else left that's going to? Oh, Russia. Russia's going to come get us. Sure they are. And yeah, so they're all going to come get us. And so we need to spend gazillions, which is money laundering, on this infrastructure because it's going to go to the places that are already government contractors. A lot of money will be funneled because it'll be way more than $1 trillion. But keep your eye on the Golden Dome because the Golden Dome is an important piece of this. We all are focused on data centers, but the Golden Dome supplies the surveillance architecture in low space orbit. And I'm just reminding people that you can only go into space, about 400 miles? So anyway, I'm just saying that the system that's being built, they're not really talking about it. So technology doesn't have a conscience. So the question is always going to be who controls the trigger. That's the hard part to digest today, I know. So yes, David says, you seem to have a pretty good handle on the result or output of what you're talking about. This is on YouTube. However, you are light on the input or causes, much more complex than what you're talking about. Dude, it's an hour show, and I don't think I can go into everything in an hour to appease you. I'm so sorry. I think getting the nuts and bolts of this is extremely important for people to even just digest that, just like they need to digest election fraud and that we have 100% fraud going on. So, and then somebody says, nobody trusts the US anymore. It's not because of the US, it's because of the government and the intelligence agencies and what they've done to the country. The country itself literally ended world slavery and did it through white Quakers, by the way. It wasn't Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was the end of 70 years. It was the white Quakers that did it. So an end to worldwide slavery of all different flavors, and not just blacks, but all different people as slaves. And then this country was the first to recognize that kings and queens were not going to control us and that we could have a government by design. Now, I'm not saying that the banksters and the evil didn't take a lot of that away. Constitution's still in play. It's hardly recognizable. But I'm not saying that didn't happen. But don't blame America. Blame the government and the intelligence agencies that were given carte blanche. The intelligence agencies that were given a whole bucket of money no one was ever going to see into, and that they do control the presidency. When they murdered JFK, that was sort of their big, FU sign to everybody that we are in charge now and no one else is. And so the government is just solid puppetry. Always has been for about 120 years, but it is solid puppetry. So, so there's that. Anyway, somebody posted that they are, bless the veterans, bless the troops. I agree. I've got people in the military all throughout my family, immediate, all throughout my family. And I do have to say that, when they sign up, they usually have a vested interest and love for this country. Okay. I think even they realize as they're into these war actions that are never declared by Congress, so that makes them completely illegal. But when they're in these, they understand that the government is a totally different machine than we think it is. And I've talked to many veterans. Many veterans have come to me and written me, and I just, God bless a good heart that wants to help and that is there in their estimation for the right reason. God bless the veterans and the people serving right now. But they are utilized and used by a deep state that controls what happens to our country externally and internally. So I don't forget that. And I love my country, just don't like what the government's done to it. You know how that goes. So the other thing is, be aware of this. It's not really being talked about a whole bunch, referred to very slightly. And that's because they don't want people talking about it. But the data centers themselves, remember in the beginning of this podcast, when I was talking about synthetic data, the storage of synthetic data, data that's not real, you need to be very aware of that. I said that the bait and switch, and go get the ebook, please. The bait and switch to AI is universal basic income. They're going to pretend that AI is creating so much wealth that they're going to give dividends to every American, and that you're going to live on money that the government gives you. But trust me on this one, when they give it to you, they control it. So if your whole income is government given, you better be very scared, because they can actually control what you buy. It's all built into the infrastructure. So, so be very aware of that. But the ebooks are at katetalks.myshopify.com. Very important, these ebooks, because I just put out one on organ donation. Please read this. Oh my gosh. If you just understand how they came up with organ donation, you'll take it off your license. And then I'm not saying don't donate, but what I am saying is you better have a situation that is very clear to you that your loved one is not waking up, that your loved one, because they have to take the parts from somebody that's alive. And don't think for a second they can't feel. And you better be understanding that it is a huge profit mechanism that's going to turn into something far different in the future. So please, please, please go get the ebooks, because I've been censored so much, and I am a normal person, that a mom, a wife, that got to peer into media and get to see what's on the backside of media. And I'm telling you what has happened to me, and I'm telling you my story. And I'm saying, as soon as I started mentioning a couple of different things, I got censored big time. When I started saying Trump, why is he running if he knows it's fixed? Didn't make any sense to me. I said he was going to become president 2.5 years before he became president again. That the reason I'm telling you all of this and putting it into ebooks is because I think the information is vital to waking people up. Okay. The other thing was election fraud. I got censored for that because I talked about it too much. But go and get the ebooks at katetalks.myshopify.com. It also supports the work that I do and the research that I do, and I'm able to do it. So the show, don't know how much longer we can do it. Donations are down because it's the summer, and the summer is always the hardest time for us to be able to get through. So summer's rough. So I can't express that enough. Anything that you want to give to help this situation would be very much appreciated. Okay. So please go to katedalleyradio.com, katedalleyradio.com, and there's all kinds of ways to donate to the show. And PayPal is just kate@katedalleyradio.com. So simple. So also there's a cancer ebook because it's heavily censored, because you're not allowed to say certain words that rhyme with pure in relation to cancer. So you're not allowed to say certain things. So you might want to check that booklet out, because it can be game-changing for you. It can be life-saving for you. So you might want to have that on your computer, because the cancer rate is only going up. And by the way, the founder of Scary Mommy, the one that was ridiculing anti-vaxxers, the one that was ridiculing anyone that didn't get vaxxed and telling everyone to shoot up their kids with an experimental shot, she died of a very like a turbo brain cancer. And I think that's sad. I don't want to see anybody, bite the dust. I don't want to see anybody harmed through shots. And I'm not dancing on her grave. What I'm saying is that isn't it ironic that she would die of a turbo cancer after taking every shot known to man, right? Every single shot she could. And telling people that that they are idiots for not getting the shots. From day one, I said, don't do anything they offer you. Don't do anything they offer you. And I was nationwide. I was in so many cities. I'm like, don't do it. And the people that did, that made fun of the anti-vaxxers, amazing. So, yeah, anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that today. Listen, there's so much going on, and we're always going to be, the ebooks, people are asking me about the ebooks. Yeah, katetalks.myshopify.com. Go get them. Also get healthy. Go get Cardio Miracle. I drink it twice a day. There's a reason for that. My husband, it's so funny because he gets up before me, and it's always on the counter. Every single day it's on the counter, Cardio Miracle. I just laugh because I'm like, yep, he drank it today, because we just love it and we won't go without it. And I've been drinking it since August, September. Anyway, I love it. So please go get Cardio Miracle, because it's 20 times the fruits and vegetables. The product actually works. I've used every product known to man. I can tell you, I've used every product. I've used Balance of Nature. I've used all of them. This one outshines Balance of Nature. It outshines fruits and veggies. It outshines everything. CardioMiracle.com. You're going to feel the difference. You'll see. Anyway, please go get Cardio Miracle. You can try it out. I think 30 or 60 days or something. It's amazing. And you can see if it makes a difference for you, but please do it twice a day. It's a game changer to do it twice a day than just once. And that's when I noticed the biggest difference. I didn't notice the difference when I was doing it once a day, but I did notice when I was doing twice. And immediately. So do that. Anyway, look, I'm just here to help, give you some great advice. Do I trust Trump? I don't trust anyone that's president, because I know the presidency is fixed. The only person that gets into the presidency is the one that will do the bidding of the deep state. So that's what got me censored on conservative. I'm a conservative, but it got me censored off of conservative radio when I started asking this one little question. And that was, why is Trump running if he knows it's fixed? It makes zero sense, because as a business decision, you would never run again. If the thing just got stolen from you, you would never run again. That'd be stupid. It's going to get stolen from you again. That's why I said in 2022, Trump will be president in 2024. And no one believed me, because we had fake trials going on at the time. And it was being presented as the deep state's after him, which made him into a martyr, which then supplied the idea that if he's a martyr and the deep state's after him, then you must fight and you must go to bat and you must vote for him. And it isn't about Trump. Quit making it about Trump. If you're making it about Trump all the time, you're not awake. You don't understand it. If you are constantly all about, do you like Trump? Do you hate Trump? Do you think he's doing a good job? Do you not? Do I have Trump rage or not? Or blah, blah, blah. It's not about Trump. Trump's just a show pony, just like Reagan was. Reagan was a show pony. Clinton was a show pony. Clinton didn't know dink. Clinton didn't know anything. Hillary was his handler. Hillary was running the show. Cheney was running the show for Bush. Obama wasn't running anything. Obama's a moron. He wasn't running anything. None of them run anything. None of them do anything. They're only told what to do. Sign this executive order. Do this policy action. Do this. Explain it like this. Market it like this. Sell it like this. They're just show ponies. So if you're asking me if I like Trump, then you're not awake. You don't understand it. You don't understand what's happening. The show pony has been the show pony for a long time. So it isn't about whether you want to have Trump over for dinner or whether you like him or whether you don't like him. What are we, 10? You have a crush on Trump? I mean, give me a break. It's not about Trump. You're an idiot if you think it's about Trump. It's about, they put in who will be the show pony to take the New World Order objectives and make them happen. That's why it only goes one way. I love this. This woman seems evil. Oh, Olivia, are you a bot? Slick says she's exactly right. Thank you. Is she selling healing crystals? No. Olivia, are you having some kind of stroke or something? Okay. Are you brain dead? What's going on? Anyways, listen, it's just not about Trump. It's not about Trump. Who are they? Are you serious? Who are they? I get asked that and I'm like, are we idiots? Okay. There's a lot of they. Look at all your groups that meet. Okay. In secret, not in secret, can't get in, don't have credentials. Look at all your groups from Bilderberg all the way down to Peter Thiel's new little dialogue group. Okay. The groups that run things, okay, the banksters and the families that we never talk about, but there's so many they. I don't think it's a vast group. I mean, but it's enough. So yeah, vested interests too. They all have different interests. So I love all the comments. I love it when people are like, I love it when this is a comment from probably a bot because Olivia can't be real because too much of an idiot. But Trump's a pedo. Okay. Oh my gosh. It's not about Trump. It's not even about who's a pedo and who's not a pedo. Okay. The group that runs things and the group that presents itself as the head of whatever department of government that you're looking at or the president of the country. I would have to say that they in order to be in this club, you have to have a whole special kind of, yes, I'll do that kind of mode. Okay. And I would say that a lot of people running the world that are truly running the world are pretty much Satanists. I would have to say that they bend towards Satanism. But I think that we get caught up in what the media tells us to get caught up in. So your emotional response to Trump is given to you by media manipulation because they don't want you to be awake and know that the entire thing is fixed. So what they do is they get you into an emotional uproar, an emotional response to Trump. I don't have an emotional response to Trump. By the way, Trump never bothered me, actually. I never was bothered by Trump. I know some people get bothered, but I wasn't. I actually liked him. I really do. I mean, there isn't anything personally wrong with Trump. The problem is that he is owned. It doesn't matter whether I personally like him or don't like him or am bugged by him or I'm not bugged by him. It has nothing to do with anything. What's truly important for those of you that are new to the show or new to listening to me, because I've been doing this 16 years, the part that the disconnect is that it is all controlled. His actions are controlled. What he is doing is controlled. He's not rogue and he's not fighting the deep state. He is the deep state. They're all the deep state. It's just that you have higher levels of deep state than others. You have the people willing to do the orders of the deep state. You have the people that do the actions of those orders. And then you have the people controlling the shots. I don't know what else to tell you. If your conversation is about Trump, you need to do some more research. You need to do some more reading. Okay. So I so appreciate you guys. You know, I been doing this a long time, been censored a long time, been censored so many times. And our problem is free speech in America. We do not have it. We do not have it. As a normal person peering into media and getting a glimpse of the characters that become your talk show hosts, all I can say is that you need to look with a kind of a spiritual eye toward all of it, because you won't necessarily see it without that. I call it a God thing. If you have to call it something different, whatever. But I say it's a God thing because your basic intuition, your basic gut feelings, think things that aren't right, you know, that common sense is gone, things aren't right, what's going on here. Or for the people that believed in Trump, voted for Trump, thought Trump was going to save us, and now are disappointed in Trump, you should be more awake than that. You should take responsibility for yourself. You should be more awake. You're not awake. Okay? Because it's not about Trump. And I feel like we're kind of missing the boat because why? Because we're easily manipulated. by media, by everything. And there's a lot of people that will watch conservative media and they'll walk away going, Trump is saving us, or he's using the white hats, or he's using small military operatives, whatever the story is, whatever Q wants to tell us, whatever. But that's not true either. So there's just so many people bamboozled, and we've got to get people, we got to shake them out of this somehow, some way. So I really, really, really appreciate all of you and your willingness to listen to this, because it means that you're questioning things. So that's good, except for the few commentators on YouTube, which are total morons. I would say that the vast majority of people that listen to me are really just kind of wanting to know what in the hell's going on. So I love that. By the way, be faithful, be fearless. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully Dr. Merritt on Thursday and Chris Ann Hall, if we can work out the internet issue. She was supposed to be on today, talking about the 250. So celebration. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Super appreciate you. Be faithful, be fearless. Go to KateDalleyRadio.com for more info. Go to CardioMiracle.com/Kate. Start taking Cardio Miracle. It's definitely worth it. You can kick a lot of your other supplements to the curb. And also, I just wanted to say, please go get the ebooks and please share the ebooks. It would mean so much to me if you actually shared that link. Okay, katetalks.myshopify.com. Just please share that, because we can get a lot of people woken up out of this slumber, and you can get help for cancer as well. I'll say help because I can't say the word that rhymes with pure. Okay, but that book is so helpful. Please go get it. And the new one on organ donation is out. Also, the book on AI bait and switch. You need to know what's coming for your kids, for your family, and for yourself. You need to know how this plays out. 2029, 2030, what's coming? Please. There's so much to it. So I appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Be faithful, be fearless. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.